And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey guys, we're taking a look today at Tahiti, which is the newest game from Minion Games. Tahiti is a game in which you are basically moving around on different islands, picking up goods and bringing them back, a pickup and delivery game. Well, pickup and delivery is not necessarily my favorite style of game, unless it's a lighter one. Is this one of those? Let's look. Tahiti is made up of a starting island, and then you have other islands that you put on the outside. This is what the starting setup would look like for a 4-player game. 3-player game, 2-player game would be somewhat different. And there's a couple islands on the board, and these are the starting ones, but you can really start with any one that you want out there. And each island shows a resource, and they'll start with cubes on top of that resource. And so on a player's turn, what they're going to do is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to grow the island. And essentially that is by moving this god, Hanu, whatever her name is, the goddess, and you can move her one space, and you always move her towards the outside of the island. And once you do, you'll then draw a new tile, and you can place that there next to her. And so if she's already on the outside of the island when it's your turn, you can draw a tile and place it next to her, as long as that tile touches 2 other tiles. And so as these tiles come out, you'll see more islands, but new resources are not automatically added to these islands. Rather, at the beginning of a player's turn, he'll take a bag in which all the different resources are, and he'll draw 3 of these cubes. When he draws 3 cubes, he places them out if he can. So I can put the pink one there, the yellow, and the green. So I was able to put all of them out because of those 2 islands, but had I not, I would have just thrown them back into the bag. Then, after a player has done that, a player has 4 actions that they can take, and they can do the same action more than once. Moving is an action, so they'll move around from island to island. If they're at one of these islands, they can pick up the goods for that island. Now, when that happens, you're going to take a look at your player board here, and on your player board, you have a boat. This shows which the goods that your boat can have. Now, if you notice, there's 5 squares and there's 4 circles. A circle is a rower of your boat. Basically, each circle that you have showing on your boat gives you an action. So, like I said, you have 4 actions, and each square can hold a good. So if I put the goods in these 2 ends of the boats, I still have 4 actions. But if I take another good, now I'm down to 3 actions. And if that had been an action, at any given turn, you need to look at your boat. And if you've already taken that many actions, your turn is done. So I'm down to 3 actions for this turn. And you can go all the way down to 1 action. You can never go put a good in that spot, which will really slow you down, but hey, you have a whole lot more goods. So a player is going to be moving around and picking up goods, and then he'll want to come back to the island. However, there are these reefs. You can see reefs here. Whenever you cross a reef, you are going to draw a cube from the bag. There's no movement penalty, and if you cross 2 reefs, let's say I'm from here to here, I would draw 2 cubes from the bag. So let's say I did that. I draw 2 cubes from the bag, and I look at these cubes, a pink and a brown. I have a pink on my ship, so I've lost that. There's a chance that you'll lose goods if you match the ones that you draw when crossing a reef. So it's dangerous to cross a reef, but sometimes you have no choice, and sometimes it's a lot faster. For example, if I was here, I would have to spend 2 actions to go this way, while it's only 1 to go across the reefs. And sometimes it's much farther than that. Now, once you get home, you can spend 1 action to unload all your goods. So I can say, oh, I'm going to unload all 3 of these yellows and 1 of the green, and I place them there into my storage area. Now, you'll notice that there's a white one here, but there's no white resources on the board. Instead of going out and getting goods, you can go to any other spot than your home island, and you can fish. To fish, you simply draw 2 cubes from the bag, and if either one of them is a white cube, you get to keep it. And even though you haven't seen many white cubes, there are quite a few fish in the bag, and the more cubes that come out on the board and the more cubes that people collect will make fishing more prosperous. So for the first half of the game, players are going to be drawing from 2 piles of these hexagons and placing them and growing the board. When these hexagons run out, when a pile runs out, the goddess leaves. Good riddance. And now the end game is basically starting. At this point, anytime at the end of a player's turn, if there is an empty island on the board anywhere, they must take one of these depletion tiles, turn it face up, and put it on that tile. That tile no longer has resources put on it. Not to mention, when players draw new resources from the bag to put out in islands, they only draw 2 rather than 3. So islands will be depleted, can have no more on them. In fact, some islands can have if this token shows up, that means the island has become a better fishing spot. So when you fish there, you will draw 3 cubes instead of 2. And so this continues until only 4 islands are left on the whole board, and they'll be bigger looking than this. There's a lot more of these out there. When 4 islands are not uncovered with depletion tiles, so the rest of them are, other than the 4 other islands, then the game will end. At that point, we're going to score. You'll look here, and for example, you see with the bananas here, the score for my bananas is 3. I always look at the one that is right next to the last cube I have. So you can see that bananas and coconuts and taro and the spice all score the same, but fish, if you don't get any fish, you'll get some negative points, so you want to get those. Also, if you get a whole set at the top, you get a bonus for each complete set you have. So if I have 4 complete sets, I'll get a bonus of 7 points. And then finally, at the beginning of the game, each player is given one of these tiles that shows 2 goods on it. And if you have the most of one of those goods, you get 5 points for each one you have the most of, and 3 points for the one you have the second most of. Add together all your points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Huzzah! It is a lighter one. It is a light pickup and delivery game. Now, I like Tahiti. It's a fun, fast little game. I like for me, the fishing, I don't know why, I like the fishing the best because I like that aspect of, will I get fish? As the game progresses, it definitely has an arc to it, and probably the middle of the game is the most interesting as you explore the islands. As the game progresses, it's kind of a race to get the last goods, and while that's interesting, it's not as exciting. The different ways you can strategize, I suppose, try to get a whole out of one good doesn't make sense. Try to get as many of all different goods makes the most sense. So it's not like the game has a lot of different options. I'll do this turn, I'll do this. You know, in this game, I'm going to play a different way. That doesn't happen. Instead, you essentially are playing the same way every game. But because the game is so light, we're talking a 30-minute game here, I enjoyed it. I won't say that I fell head over heels in love with the game, but it was a good, solid one, and I think one that will fit with families. The idea of, will you fill your canoe up and then slowly row your boat gently back to the shore of the island? Or will you grab stuff and come back as fast as you can with more actions? I wonder if it might not turn out to be the same, and many more repeated plays will bear that out. But I think this will solidly fall down as a nice introductory game to the pickup and delivery genre, a fun theme for many people, and just a simple game to get into, Tahiti.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.
Shut the door.